I've missed seeing you. I hope everybody's doing great. Um, I just dropped a link in the chat box. That is the presentation for today, but I'm not going to use this presentation to teach. This is just more of a resource for you. So feel free to, and I'll share it again at the end as well. But this one, as Jamie said, it's really popular right now. It is a newer it's been out for almost a year, I think, but it just got some great updates and it is a tool that's life-changing. So you're going to see it around a lot if you haven't already. And so in the chat, if you'll let me know, maybe a yes or no if you are already using Notebook LM, I would love to see that. Just a quick yes or no if you are currently using. Lots of no's. Okay, that's great. I see some yeses. Great. So yeses, please feel, I hope you all will chime in as well. I would really like to gear this towards how you can use this as a teacher. So first of all, Notebook LM, what is it? I'm not going to go into depth with this, but this is your virtual note-taking and research assistant. It's different from ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot and all these other AI apps because it only searches the information that you give it to use. And we're going to go through lots of examples today. I do want to remind you that every time I've got to meet with you about AI, we've talked about this 80-20 rule, and that goes into play here as well. So Notebook LM, just like any other AI, we're going to let this do 80% of the work for us, which is a lot. It makes your life easier, but you need to do that other 20%. So we always want to double check our sources. We want to check for bias. We want to check for inaccuracies. And so just make sure to keep that in mind. Never use AI exactly as it gives it to you. Please always check it. And so to get started, and this is where I'm just going to jump on over. So this is Google Notebook LM. And there are two versions. There's the free version, which you are able to use perfectly. I've been using it for a while now, but there is always that paid version that gives you some extra features or gives you more. And I'll make sure to point those out to you today as well. But if you want to play along today as we go, it's notebooklm.google.com. Or if you just do a quick search for Notebook LM, it will pop up for you. So that's the first thing that we do. You can sign in with your Google, and you'll notice this is the home page. So this organizes all of my materials for me, and it organizes every time I open a new project. It's called a notebook. So each one is individual and separate. So for now, I'm going to create a new one. Actually, I'm going to jump into one. So when you're ready to create, it looks like this. And I'm going to jump back to my slides for just a second to show you that the homepage is organized into 3 different sections. Okay, that's first is the input on the left. That's what you give it. Then the middle section is the understanding. Okay, so this is where we get to think with the content that it gives us. And the third section is the output, and this is where you create. So again, the input, things that you would read, it's what you give to the AI. Understanding is the middle, and creating is the third part. And we'll look at that in our notebook. So over on the left, this is our input side. This is where you give the sources. So in the top left-hand corner, you just click Add Source, and you are able to upload, at this time, the documents. You can upload things from your Google Drive, such as Google Docs and Google Slides. You can also give a website URL or a YouTube video. You can also give any public video as long as it has a transcript. And then the last part is copied text. So you can actually copy text from anywhere and paste it in. Okay. So just to demonstrate that, I'm going to jump into my drive, and I'm just going to put a Google Doc in here. And I've already started this one, so we're going to pretend I picked one on the Oregon Trail. So you can tell over on the left-hand side, these are the sources I've given it because I'm acting as a fifth grade teacher who's getting ready to do a unit on the Oregon Trail. And so you can tell I've added in some websites that I have read through and that I found reputable. I've added a YouTube video that I love to show to kids. I could also add my own lesson plans or my own notes or my own slide decks that I've already created. I can also add a textbook if I have that PDF version of a textbook. So I can add any source that I want here, right? And the great thing about this is that I know I'm pulling from information that I've vetted, information that I trust. Okay, so that's my input. In the middle section, when we talked about this is where we do all of our thinking and our creating, first of all, it gives me a summary of the sources. But now this is where the magic happens. I do want to back up for just a second. So for sources, because somebody asked, it can take a lot of sources. With the free version, you can upload up to 50 sources per notebook. So that's a lot. And for each one of those files, because we tested it out to be sure, each file can contain up to 500,000 words. So we have put in documents that are huge, like our entire district plan, anything you can put in here. With the paid version, you can get more than that. You can get up to 300 sources per notebook, and that's a lot, right? So for my free version, I can put in 50 different sources for it to analyze. So in the middle, once I have my sources in there, I'm ready to start interacting with my chat. So I could ask any kind of question that I want. For example, maybe I want to know, let's see, what are the most frequently mentioned hardships in these diary entries? So for my example, right now, I just have different diary entries, different firsthand accounts of what it was like to travel the Oregon Trail. Okay, so it analyzed let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I put in 6 different sources. It quickly analyzed those sources, and it's giving me the frequently mentioned hardships from all of those. And you can tell these little numbers that you're seeing, it's citing the sources of where it pulled that information from. So if I hover over that number 1, it's showing me where it came from. But if I click on that citation, it's actually going to open that document up and show me where it got that information. So this is great. I want you to think beyond the example I'm showing you now. And like I said, we're going to look at many different examples. But you could even put in documents that you haven't had a chance to analyze yet, and it would find the answers for you. For example, we just got back from TCEA, as JV mentioned, and we had to try to find questions about how to do a travel leave. So my coworker actually put in all of the Fayette County handbooks, all of the different documents, and was able to ask one question, and it quickly searched through all those documents and gave us the answer. So be thinking about all the different uses for this. So I can, if you notice, it says on the left-hand side or on the bottom, it says Save to Note. So this is a really important feature of Notebook LM. This middle part, this chat, it does not save this automatically. So if I want to save these little notes, then I would click Save to Note, and it's going to populate over on the right-hand side, as you can see. Move this out a little bit. So my notes now live over here. So here's this diary, accounts of hardships. Let me ask another one. Maybe I want to say, what are some of the words mentioned that a 5th grader might not understand in these documents? So again, it's analyzing just the sources on the left-hand side. And here are the words that it gave me, a pretty big list. So that helps me knowing as I'm teaching through this lesson, these are some words that I might want to do vocabulary exercises on. And I can even ask it to create those vocabulary exercises for me. So I can do many different questions. Again, if I want to save this, when I come back to it, I would just click Save to Note, and it pops that note over here on the right-hand side. Okay, so I have a copy of those notes now, because remember that chat does not stay when I revisit this site. Again, I can always re-ask those questions. Here's another handy feature about the chat. So here's where I could save the note down in the middle left. But if the next icon over, it looks like two pieces of paper. Google uses this as their copy feature. So I can actually copy this text. So I click a button and copy it. And then if I were to open up a brand new doc, I'm able to paste that information in. Okay, so here's all of that information. So this makes it easy if when you are creating activities, you can copy and paste them into a document, and then you're ready to edit and create and make it your own. I could even turn around and share this with students. So I think I mentioned this in the beginning, but Notebook LM right now is a tool that is only for 18 years of age and older. So this tool is for you as a teacher, but you can definitely find ways to create these activities and create this material for your students. Okay, so I have, sorry, move this bar out of the way. Okay, so I could type as many questions in here as I want. But over on the right, and we talked about this is the output side, right? So my notes are down here on the bottom. Here are the two that I've created already. But I also have these quick options. For example, I can click Study Guide, and it will quickly analyze all of those sources and create a study guide for me. And that one might take a minute because I gave it a lot of sources to upload. But when I click, here it is. And here's the study guide that it created for me. It even gave me a quiz, and it even gave me the answer key. So, and it gave me essay questions, a key of vocabulary words. So again, I could easily copy these and put this in a document, and I've created a great study guide for my students. So I'm going to close this little section down. And I can also create a briefing doc, which is very similar. It basically gives me an agenda view of that. I could do a timeline. So it's going to go through all of those sources and generate a timeline for me. Something else to note is that if I go back over to my sources, maybe I only wanted my timeline to come from this video. So I can check the little box next to just the items that I wanted to analyze. And then I'll do that again. I'll click timeline again. And so now you can tell I have two different timelines. Number one, this bottom one is the first one I did, where it analyzed all of those different documents and made this wonderful timeline for me. And then above it is my new note that's still generating. We'll take a peek at that when it's finished. Here it is. And I have another timeline, and this one is just from the video. Okay. So the next part, and this is the part where I wish we were in a room together, because this is the magical part. The top part, so we're still in that output section over on the right. And this is my audio overview. And you'll notice it says a deep dive conversation. So what's going to happen now is Notebook LM is going to create a podcast for me based on the information I've given it. So I'm going to just check a few more sources over here. Note that before I generate it, I have the option to customize this podcast. So I could say, please, let's see, I'll say keep it short. And I'm going to say to be used as a teaser for my class. And then maybe I want you to focus on the hardships of, sorry, you're having to deal with my slow typing here, traveling on the Oregon Trail. And I misspelled that, but it'll know what I mean. And I'm going to click on generate. Okay, this part does take a few minutes. So while it's generating, I'll keep talking to you. But what's happening is it's analyzing that information, and it's creating a podcast. And when you hear it, it sounds so natural. There is a male and a female who are going to talk. and they're going to introduce those skills for me. So with this podcast, I can quickly download that and I can share that to my students. And while that's thinking, I'm going to jump out and jump over to one that's already created, because it does take some time for that to happen. So this is another notebook that I used for my students, and this is probably the easiest way to get started. I have a slide deck, and in Fayette County, we use Amplify as our science lesson. So this is a slide deck that came with it. So I just saved the slide deck, and I'm letting you get a peek of what it is. So just a slide deck, right? That's the only thing I put in here. I did come over to the middle to the understanding part, and I did ask some questions. Like I wanted it to explain forces to me with a few activities that could expand vocabulary. So I wanted to really focus on vocabulary. Another lesson I had it do is I wanted a study guide. So it made the study guide for me to give to my students for that section. And then I did the FAQ page. But at the top, I've already generated that podcast. So let's take a quick listen. Hopefully you can hear it.
All right, so you're getting ready to teach your third graders about forces. It can be a little tricky, right? Especially for younger students.
Can you hear it?
Oh, yeah.
We did a deep dive into this lesson plan. It's called Balancing Forces. And it is packed with ways to make this concept, really stick with your students.
Definitely.
You even have this really cool visual of a futuristic train. It's levitating off the track.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty amazing image, right?
Yeah.
And that's part of what makes it such a good hook. The lesson starts with a simple question. What makes an object start to move? It's something that kids experience every day, but they may not have thought about it like scientifically before.
Okay, I won't make you listen to the whole thing, but this is usually the part where everybody oohs and ahs, because think about the implications of this. Like, I don't like to record my voice. I don't like to listen to it, but I can put the information in here, and with the click of a button, AI will generate this podcast for me. So this podcast feature can be used in so many different ways. This teacher that I took this lesson from, third grade, and they actually use this. They create these podcasts, and that's how the students start their lesson each day. They get to listen to this podcast. He's getting very specific at the prompts that he's customizing, and he's telling it to do this as a like a mystery. So he wants them to not tell the topic, but give some clues and some mystery to it. So the kids start each unit with this podcast. They get to take notes. And then he turns around and has the kids create podcasts. So they're using Adobe Podcast, which we've looked at before, and they're creating their own podcast to review the material. So that's one way. Another way is, and I tried this out a couple weeks ago, is I had a lot of material that I had to learn for an upcoming training, and it was a concept that I was not familiar with at all. So I downloaded all the tutorials that I could find off of the website. I downloaded put in a few sources of YouTube videos teaching the tutorial, and I had it create a podcast. And I had a 2.5-hour drive. So I was able to just listen to that as I was driving, and it was teaching me about how to use this tool. Had a social studies teacher who put in his study guide, his slides over on the left. So he added the sources here. He added a study guide. He added a PDF of the chapters that they were reading. He asked some questions. He came over and generated this podcast, downloaded the podcast, and put it in Canvas or Google Classroom, whichever they were using. And the students had that podcast as a study guide for the material that they were learning that week. So I hope this is starting to make sense, because I know it's a lot at once, but creating these podcasts, it's pretty cool. You will notice that there's a button at the bottom, this interactive mode, and it says beta. And I'm not going to click on it yet because it's not working 100%. But I want to tell you what it does, because I'm hoping that they will fix this soon. You can start listening to the podcast, and when you hit the interactive mode, it will let you put yourself in the podcast. So what it does, it lets you it lets you become part of the podcast and you can ask a question. And it's the versions I've seen that have worked, the videos I've seen, the podcast, the guy will say, oh, and we want to welcome Miss Fisher to the show. And she has this question. And then it records me saying my question. And then they answer the question and then they talk about it. So it's amazing, but I'm not going to do it in demonstration mode right now because it could possibly freeze up our Zoom. So I do hope that you will keep an eye on that and come back and check it out. Like I said, I know that they're working on this interactive mode. With the free version, you can do 3 of these podcasts a day. So you get 3 a day. And I apologize, I've forgotten how many you get with the paid version. I've never used the paid version, but it's still, I think it's like 30 or 10 to 30. You're still limited, but you get 3 a day with the free version. I will be honest, a couple months ago, I was able to do 6 in a day and it did not stop me. So I don't know. I don't know that you would do more than 3 a day anyway, but just to let you know, that is one of the limitations. I'm going to pause for a second and just check the chat to see, do you have any questions about this so far? I'm going to go back. We're going to go through more examples and set a couple more up, but just check in the room right now. Okay, feel free to ask. So when I'm finished with this, it doesn't have to live with just me. If you look in the top right-hand corner, there is a share icon, and this is going to look familiar to you. I can share this notebook with others that are 18 and over. So I can say, I want to share this with my teammate, and I can notify them or not. It looks just like other Google tools that you're already used to using. And I have the rights to give them to be a viewer only, meaning they can see this notebook. If I give them editing rights, then they are able to have the same permissions as I am. They can input more resources. They can ask questions in the middle to chat with, and they can create podcasts. They can have a copy of all my notes. So, and then I can also revoke their access as well. So just know that you can share these notebooks with others as well. During all of our Google training meetings, a lot of teachers have asked for the ability, when is this going to happen for students? Because they see the benefits of this. And so Google has said they're keeping that on their radar, but it's, like I said, it's a new product right now. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that they do make this available for students as well. But right now, 18 plus. In our little slide deck, just going over some of the resources I have. First of all, here are all the directions so that you can walk through this when I'm not with you as well, everything we've talked about. Just a couple of things. If you're importing something, importing brings the files in as a static resource. And what I mean by that is if you are in Notebook and you bring in a source from your Google Drive, it brings it in as a static resource. So that means once you bring the resource in and you go make changes to the Google Doc, it doesn't bring those changes in until you come back, and there'll be a little sync button beside it that lets you resync that item. Okay, so just wanted you to know that if you are using a Google Doc or a Google slide deck and you make any changes, you'll just need to resync it for that. Sometimes you'll notice that YouTube videos do not work. And so, number one, YouTube videos have to have words in order for it to work with Notebook LM. So they need to have words. So instrumentals will not work with that. Just wanted to talk to you about, okay, so I wanted to point out that these examples are here for you because I wanted this to be more, I'll be honest, when I was first shown this tool, it was like over my head. I'm like, what in the world would I even do with this? So I wanted to give you relevant examples of how you could help use this in your classroom. So I kind of wanted to walk through some of these examples with you. First is to generate study guides and assessments. And this is the example that I just shared with you, the one about using force with trains. And I know it's hard to kind of get a feel for what I did with just a screenshot. And unfortunately, I couldn't share the notebooks with you all. So there is a little document on each one of these that says click here. You don't have to use these, but I just kind of wanted you to see my thinking as I was doing it. So I knew I was going to create this, use this to create a study guide and assessments for a third grade on force and motion. So I uploaded some articles, and I uploaded that PowerPoint or that slide deck. And this is the prompts that I use. So using the article, the images, the vocabulary list, create a study guide. So that's what these documents are. I just wanted you to kind of have a starting point. And if you're like, I don't know how, I don't even know what to put in, this would give you some ideas. Another example of using this as a study guide, I'm going to jump back here and open up this one that I worked with a high school teacher on, Romeo and Juliet. So with this one, we were able to, he actually had a PDF of Romeo and Juliet. So we were able to upload all of the acts that they were working on in class. So there's 5 different acts. So as I click on that, you can kind of just show you what's there. We were able to do just some, this one was a document about theme that they used, the different themes in Romeo and Juliet. And so we were able to chat with it and ask any question we wanted to in the middle. And these were over on the right-hand side, you can see the notes. So some of the questions was like a timeline of events, because we know Romeo and Juliet is hard to understand the timeline. So there's a timeline summary. This one's a timeline, characters, and synopsis, so it breaks it down. So very helpful for teaching and learning, right? Here are writing prompts. So we asked it to give us a writing prompt on the themes. We could have it do anything we want. Create an assessment based on Acts 1 and 2, and then it will do that for us. It'll take a second. So I just wanted to let you know, this is just one use of Notebook LM, is it can help you create those assignments and assessments. So a question I get asked is, well, why don't I just use ChatGPT for this? Well, you absolutely could, or you could use Gemini or Copilot or Magic School or any of the other amazing tools out there. But remember, those tools are pulling from who knows where, all out there, anywhere. And some of that information is not accurate. So if you're putting these sources in here for it to pull from, your study guides, your chapters, your textbooks, we know it's pulling from that information that you're giving it. So that's just one example. So another reason that you might want to use this is to help you differentiate your instruction. So just a quick example, I'm going to pop over, is this class we were doing a rainforest study, and you could tell we gave it some websites. We gave it a list of the vocabulary words from the teacher's lesson plans and a video that the students watched in this unit as well. And so some things I asked it for to create a vocabulary list. Of 5 essential words from the rainforest. And then it's going to generate that list. Remember, it even cites the sources for me. It shows me where it got those vocabulary words from. And if I love it, I'm ready to use it, I can click Save to Note. It saves it over on the right-hand side. So when I come back, it's there for me. Or I could click this little copy icon in the middle of my screen. It will copy that. I could go to a document and paste that in. So then I could easily turn that into an activity for my students. So again, I could use it to create lesson plans, assessments. This one will help me differentiate, because maybe I want to define the vocabulary words for an 8th grade level instead. So my first one was for a 5th grade unit, and then now I have, you can tell the words are much more difficult now. So same assignment, different words. I could do the same thing with my study guides. I could have it, this is the original study guide, but I could have it rewrite that on a different grade level or a different reading level as well. So that's another way that I could use Notebook LM. Oh, I could also have it do engaging discussion prompts, helping me just think more deeply and reach my students in a different way. And so with this teacher, we were looking at the Eastern Woodlands, and we were able to upload 2 videos that she showed to her class that they study, some different worksheets and some different notes that they used. And this one was interesting because she was also showing the houses, the different types of houses from the different tribes, or the different ways that they built their homes. And so it can analyze images as well, which I thought was amazing. And so she was able to think about, this was the question. Based on the description of how Eastern Woodlands tribes hunted and gathered food, here are 3 discussion prompts to encourage students to consider how their environment influenced their daily lives. And so it gave me questions that are a little bit better than just like describe what they were, or how they got their food. So it can encourage deeper thinking as well. I'm going fast, I hope you know. And again, I included all of those prompts in here for you as well. Another way to use Notebook LM is to analyze student work. And this one is super fun because I can let this be my personal assistant and help me grade student work. So you can tell over on the left-hand side, these are 5 different quick paragraphs from kids. So they turn these in through Canvas, and the teacher just copied and pasted those links, and they came to add a source, and they just popped those in through the website link. So here are papers from Adam, Alex, Emily, Marcus, and Sarah. And then I was able to come in and say, analyze these and tell me what common themes were. And here are the responses it gave me. Remember that it has those little citations, so I could tell that this one came from number 2. So that was Alex's paper. All the first 3 students mentioned this one about the colonial weakness in organization. So you're seeing that it quickly let me analyze this. And so I could ask it any question about analyzing these documents. So I could analyze all my students' work. I could even ask it to, which misconceptions should I reteach? And so these are some misconceptions that the students had, or maybe that needed to be into more detail. That this helps me for my next lesson about what I would need to reteach. And so those were just a few examples. I wrote down other ways about using the chat function with students. You could do this as well. You could put all of their papers up and then have them help you decide what should we chat about, what questions should we ask, and then analyze those responses as well. So again, just different ways that you could use it. I just started listing ideas, and I'm sure I'm going to keep listing more because this one's relatively new to me. I've only been using Notebook LM for about 5 months now, so still working with it as well. Okay, I'm gonna jump back over. So please ask questions in the middle. I would love to hear your thoughts and your questions. I think I see a few. Oh, thank you for sharing the slide deck. I'll do it again. So here's another, as we were just chatting before we started today, I heard many of you say that you were using ChatGPT or Gemini, and I'm so excited that you are using it. So I wanted to give you a little hint. If you're stuck, I use Gemini or ChatGPT. We use Gemini in our district to help me all the time. because maybe I don't know how to use this. Let this cheat, or no, I shouldn't say cheat. Let this guide you. Let this help you. Somebody type in the chat box for me. What's a topic you have coming up? What are you getting ready to teach? And while you're typing, I'm going to answer a question from Kelly that, is there any way to change the voices? As of now, inside of Notebook LM, there's not. It uses the male and female voice. But if you're interested in that, there's a new Google tool out called Illuminate. And if you want to search that on the side, it's called Illuminate. And that one does let you change the voices of your podcasts. Oh, these are great. All kinds of things. Okay, I'll start with the first one, American Revolution. So I could say, oh, and then Bobby, what grade do you teach? I'll pretend it's, oh, fifth. Okay, great. So I'm going to tell it, I'm in Gemini. You are a fifth grade teacher. Preparing, remember, we always want to tell it who it is. Preparing for a unit on the American Revolution. How can Notebook LM help you prepare? Interactive. Okay, so I'm asking Gemini to help me. So it's giving me lots of ideas. It's telling me I could generate text to help, such as summarizing historical events, creating character descriptions, writing fictional stories. It could answer questions for me, and I know you could read this. I'm not going to read it all. It could translate languages. That would be fun. It could summarize factual topics or create stories. Okay, so then maybe I want to say, I want more. I want to know which characters should I include? So I can keep prompting and just asking for questions. Great, so then maybe I want to think about my prompt in Notebook LM, because remember, the first thing I need to do is to come and add sources, right? So I could say, where on the web can I find, and I'm sorry, I'm not capitalizing here, sources for fifth grade. And I would do better when I'm not under pressure, but I know you guys are master prompters now. So I can ask it where to find sources, and then I can go and look through these sites and find sources that I can include. So my point is, you could use AI to help you with your AI. Use Gemini to find the right prompts and the right words that you want to come in and put in Notebook LM. I don't know. Lots of fun. It's lots to think. So many different ways that you can use this. I know that my very first, here's one. We were talking about STLP before we started today. And in my district, I plan this event called Spark. And I wanted to know, I wanted to create something quick and easy to give out to people to advertise the event. So I put in our website, I put my planning notes, I put in just a timeline, and then I was able to come in and ask it, create just a quick briefing doc. And this is what I was able to copy and paste and send out to all of our coordinators. I've had schools that have used this where they've uploaded their whole handbook. That's a lot of words. And then they would go in and ask it a question about how they could spend their school's money without breaking any rules or following the procedures the right way. So again, with all that to say, I know it's a lot of information, but let this help you. So think of it this way. If I want to know information from a source, input the source, keep asking it questions about that source, and then you can save those responses. And I guess I didn't have to go so fast because I went way under our hour. So I'm going to pause for a second and see any questions that you have. And I see, oh, Kelly put that she uses this each week to create a podcast. I love that for the Mazzano Dimensions for learning for the staff newsletter. That's great. And yes, and I think Illuminate would allow you to change those voices as well. But this is a great way. This is a lot of people don't hear these two voices a lot, so a great way to get started.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I noticed earlier you said that your district has Amplify for Science, and you're able to upload those deck slides into this notebook. How can we find out, like, we do CKLA in our district? Like, how do we know if that would be an option with CKLA, or is it just something I Google, or?
I'm gonna write that down.
Dean, I think CKLA is Amplify.
Amplify.
Because we use it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Is
I don't
CKLA
teach it, but I was
Amplify?
afraid. I was thinking, okay, I think we do Amplify. And then I
Yeah.
thought, wait a minute. No, is it just CKLA? Okay. Well,
Yeah,
anyway,
you can
that's
download the slides on there.
okay. Well, I think
So when
that's
you
really
go
cool.
Yeah, when you go into your lessons over on, I think it's on the left-hand side, it will say like download, and you can download as either a PowerPoint or a Google slide deck.
Okay.
If you download as PowerPoint, the easiest way is to drag it into your drive, and then it converts it to a PowerPoint. But if I still have teachers who are diehard PowerPoint users, but that's the easiest way to get it, or just save the Google slide. Yeah, and if you need me to do a screenshot of where that's at, I can do that for you too.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions, or anyone want to share how how could you use this in your school? Nobody's going to use it. Oh no.
I see being able to use it with like standards work when you're trying to maybe even like bring in social studies and ELA and trying to make sure that you're reaching all the standards to the depth that they need to be reached at.
I love that.
I love the idea of, I know I was at one conference and there's something called the walking classroom where kids can listen to podcasts as they're walking, at recess or whatever. But you can create those podcasts and then download them as MP3s, and the kids could listen to them to get content as a new way.
Yes. I love that. And then they could even respond to.
Maybe if you knew what was going to be discussed in an upcoming ARC, put some general information about that topic into it and listen to it. I don't know. And kind of if you knew you were going to have some kind of topic that was maybe of discussion with it amongst your peers, and see if it could feed you any ideas to resolve any problems, maybe. I don't know.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And that's a good point. I'm two things that, as you two both were talking, number one, you can upload your standards documents in here. I had another teacher do that. They put their entire standards in here, and then they also put their planning document in here, and they had it create a crosswalk between and then tried to do a timeline of how to divide that up into 8 months of teaching. So you can definitely do that. And then Adam made me think of, I've seen our counselor had put in a list of accommodations and then was chatting about they never put in personal information, right? Never students' names, but I have a student with ADHD. These are modifications I would like to look for, and it was pulling from those resource documents too. So
I got my acronyms mixed up because I said ARCs, but then I was really thinking PLCs as I was giving that idea.
Oh.
Just thinking about if there were, some kind of topic of contention amongst peers and admin about a way that something should be done, or even some of these committees that you have throughout school. Like my school has something called a Sunshine Committee where we try to plan ideas to raise morale amongst the staff. So maybe you could listen to the podcast, discuss different ideas of ways that you could raise staff morale, and then maybe it could provide ideas going into those sunshine committees. I don't know. That's just kind of where my head went, I guess.
I love that. I love that. I think that's great, Adam. Any other thoughts? These are great.
I like the thought of using the podcast for parent communication, to help parents understand what's going on in the classroom so that they can support their learners at home. So extending it past, further than just the student having access to that, but it to be something that your families have access to so that they can work through those little sticky points with their kids.
Yes, I love that.
Also, I'm a reading interventionist, so my mind quickly went to the reading intervention plans that we have to do in our districts. And a lot of the verbiage and vocabulary parents are not familiar with, phonemic awareness and that type of thing. You could actually do a podcast explaining the terminology or whatever skills that their child is needing intervention on, and, let them listen to a podcast based on that.
Yes, yes, yes. And even using that this briefing doc over here, which would analyze that document and pull some of those out into a handout. That evidently it translates it. I've not tried that yet, but that's on my list to try today. These are great ideas. Any others? It does not play the podcast in Spanish yet that I know of, but I'm curious. I'm going to write this one down as well. And if anybody wants to find it out as well, if you uploaded documents in Spanish, would it translate those in Spanish? I don't know. And I'm sorry, I don't know, but I want to know. So I'm writing that down, and I could even send the answer out to you all. Because you all made me think of that.
I was just thinking of my daughter. She teaches in Colorado, and she has a lot of parents that only speak Spanish. And I was thinking that would be a wonderful way to communicate with them, because she's not a fluent Spanish speaker. So I was just thinking about that.
It would be. That's great. I'm not sure if any of you are Screencastify users, the extension Screencastify, but the new paid version of that, and it's not much. Sorry, my puppies are running around. The new Screencastify version will actually translate videos for you. So we've been doing videos in English, but we can click a button now and it will translate it into other languages. So I know that one's a little bit of money, but that's a solution for that as well. Okay, well, this is your homework for this week. Homework is to come in to Notebook LM and to say, I want to create a new notebook and upload one thing. Try to upload one source, whether it's a lesson plan or a slide deck or a document that you're already working with. At least try it with one thing, okay? And do it today, even if you can. And then ask some questions in the middle and then save those sources and try the podcast. So that's homework. And you even have 10 minutes left right now of your designated time that I know you can try it. But start small with it. Use Gemini or ChatGPT to help you, like, go in, don't be afraid. How can I use Notebook LM to help me with this topic, to get some prompt ideas? And then share with us. You can email or you can put it on Twitter. Keep those ideas, keep sharing those ideas, because we are all stronger together. And I'm hanging around if you have questions. And Jamie, I'm sorry that I finished a little bit early.
That's no problem at all. I do have a question.
Yes, please.
Like your presentation is in Canva, and unless I'm doing something wrong, I couldn't get that to be a resource. Is that right?
Oh. That's a good question. I never realized that. Does it not do it as a link?
It's no, it gave an error, like can't remember what it was.
That makes me think I should start creating my things back in Google Slides.
And the only reason I ask is because right now I use Wakelet. Like after every session, all of the resources from the session I put in a Wakelet, but it's not exactly the best organized thing. And I thought, well, this might be better, but
I don't want to put myself where I can't upload all of the resources. I guess I could download it as a PDF though. And
So I should share the document as both formats too. So yeah, it's not letting me do a Canva. That's a great question. I never had tried that one before.
I'll go ahead and put the evaluation in the chat. But I love this. I like that you can organize everything into one notebook. So it's kind of like a digital notebook. If I
Yeah.
could make this work, I think I would switch from Wakelet because it just looks a bit neater.
I do have a quick question. When I went to go get on it, it's saying that I don't have access to it. Am I missing something, or do I need to talk to my tech people? It says it's like, we're sorry, but you don't have access to Notebook LM.
That's good feedback. I think it's probably locked for your district. And that's Heather, what district are you in?
Lawrence County.
Lawrence County. Okay. It would be best to ask your Google admin or your tech admin. Some districts have all AI things blocked right now until they open them up one by one. And so it might just be one that's blocked for your district right now. If it keeps happening, will you let me know? And I'll help figure that out. Is anybody
Kelly,
else
that happened to me, and I called my district tech, and they had to go in and tweak a few things, and now I have access.
Yeah, I called ours and it's a paid level, so we do not pay for those services. So I have to use a Gmail account.
Because this should be free for everyone.
Unless you're not we're not a Google school.
Google district.
So we're not a Google district, so it's a paid feature that we don't have access to. So we just open up another tab and go to our regular.
Cool. That's good feedback, and I'm really sorry about that. I asked our Google rep if even if we weren't Google districts, if we could use it, and they said yes. So
the story feature
told me no.
too that they had, where they would like read to you the Google. I don't know what it's called. Yeah,
read along.
We don't have access to that either.
Oh,
yeah.
Shoot.
Yeah, and
I'm
when
so
I asked,
sorry.
they said something similar to what she said, that we don't pay for it or something.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, and I think it's something related. So we can't pull our email or open documents within our school account anymore that are Google related. So because it's something started to charge, so they didn't pay for it. That's an easy workaround.
But you're able to with your personal Gmail account?
Yes.
Okay, good. I know some districts have it blocked because it's 18 and over, and they can't differentiate between what teachers can get into and what students can get into. So I know that's an issue, but the personal Gmail accounts work too. Well, I'm hoping we find success. And as you find out those things, please let me know. I want to make sure that we get something to everybody that they can use. So I know.
Questions for Kelly? Kelly, thank you so much for joining us again. I'm sorry I'm getting hoarse this afternoon.
Oh no.
But we look forward to your next session. And I know we have some more coming up soon, I think, and I know there's some new ones going on the schedule later today. I'm going to add on. I'm so sorry. I'm losing my voice.
No, you're good. Please stay healthy.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. And I'm here. Please reach out if you all have any questions. I know as you play with things come up. So please let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Kelly. For those of you that are still on, remember that your invoices are due Monday. I promise I'm not trying to be so quiet. I'm losing my voice.
When are they due, Jamie?
On Monday, the 3rd.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
You too.
You guys have any other questions?